Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jeremy Love, immigration attorney, and welcome to the Conversation Without Borders. We're here on a cloudy-ish day in Hoover, Alabama, and we're going to talk about TPS, what is happening right now with TPS, as well as what some people who have TPS should do in order to protect themselves going forward. Esta versión está en inglés. Vamos a regresar con la versión en español cuando terminamos con este video. Well, I'm here with our paralegal, Julie Hand.
Hi.
Julie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure. And Julie helps out with a lot of our family-based cases, as well as cases like DACA, U visa, which we'll discuss a little bit today, some of the different options as we get into TPS and what people can do to protect themselves right now. So, Julie, I'll let you start off. Julie's going to ask a few questions, and I'm going to do my best to answer the questions and give you some helpful advice. If you'd like to ask us any questions, feel free. We'll try to answer them live, or you could send an email or message, and I'll try to respond once we're done as well.
Okay, so tell us what's happening right now with TPS.
Okay, well, in my opinion, I think Trump just does not believe in TPS. TPS is temporary protected status. People who are here from certain countries that have been designated TPS status, for example, for civil war or natural disaster situations in the home country, they are eligible to file for TPS, which is a protection from deportation or work permit. It's kind of similar to DACA, but it's specific to certain countries. Mm-hmm. So as we've seen lately, Trump has announced the ending, or his administration, that TPS is going to be terminated for several countries, including El Salvador, Haiti, Honduras, Nicaragua. Those are just an example of some of the countries that currently have TPS that won't have them soon. For example, both El Salvador and Haiti will be losing TPS next year, as will Nicaragua. Honduras will lose TPS in January 2020. So it's important to remember that if you have TPS, you can continue working with your TPS up until the date that your card expires. Also, if you happen to lose your card, your employment authorization card, you can renew up until that date as well. So that's important to remember right now. Don't worry, you're protected up until the date on your card, but let's start thinking about options going forward.
Yeah. So what about that lawsuit that's come up recently?
Yeah, well, some of you may have heard there's a lawsuit filed against the Trump administration, basically saying that the administration terminating TPS wasn't lawful. So that was just filed recently. We don't have a decision in that. It's filed in federal court. Mm-hmm. So we'll definitely pay attention to that, see what happens. It's similar to the one that was filed regarding DACA. So that's something to pay attention to, and we'll hope to have information for you about that sometime soon.
Okay, so if I have TPS, what's going to happen when it expires? Is ICE going to come and pick me up and deport me? What's going on there?
Yeah, so that's a great question. What happens? Once TPS ends, yes, it's true that you lose that protection from deportation that you had with TPS, but it's not possible for ICE to come around and pick up everybody on the day their TPS expires. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people on TPS. And so what's important to remember is that, yes, you do lose that protection, but it does take a long time. If you haven't been removed before, then the process to deport someone takes a long time, several months, years in some cases. So it's important at that point to look into the options you have in removal, which we'll discuss more. But yeah, it's very unlikely that you'll be picked up that day. But down the road, if you were pulled over for speeding or what have you, it is possible that you could be processed for deportation. But again, that takes a long time, so that's why it's important to talk to an immigration attorney about your case and your options going forward.
Okay, so we'll go through some of the options that people who have TPS now have. So first of all, let's say that I have TPS and I'm married to a U.S. citizen. Can I stay? What's my options?
Great. Well, before I start, it's important to remember that certain things that we're not talking about in this hypothetical may affect your case. Criminal issues, prior deportations, that can affect your case. So talk to an experienced immigration attorney about your specific case, because a small detail could change everything. But let's say you came in with a visa, Julie, and you're married to a U.S. citizen, or you came without a visa and you received advance parole, which is basically a travel permit to leave and come back in the U.S. We'll talk more about advance parole in a minute. But if you were inspected when you came in, then you can file a petition in the application permanent residence, do all that here in the U.S., and become a permanent resident without leaving if you file through your spouse who's a U.S. citizen or permanent resident.
Okay. So if I entered without a visa?
Yeah, so let's say you enter without a visa and you did, but let's say you got TPS before you turned 18. Well, in that case, according to immigration, you don't accrue unlawful presence until you turn 18. So in that situation, if you came without a visa but got TPS, and you've maintained your TPS since then you don't need to file a waiver. You have to do a petition, you have to do consular processing, but there's no waiver requirement because according to immigration, there's no unlawful presence. But let's say on the flip side, let's say you were over 18 when you got TPS. 18 and 6 months, technically. Immigration is complicated. But anyway, so let's say you were over 18 when you got your TPS and you came in without a visa. Then you'll file a petition through your spouse, your U.S. citizen or permanent resident spouse, and then you have to file a waiver. Now, there are provisional waivers available for you to file here in the U.S. Before leaving for the consular interview in your country of origin. But it's really, those cases are really complicated, so it's very important to talk to someone who has experience with provisional waivers to make sure you won't be stuck abroad. The attorney needs to evaluate your whole situation to make sure there's not going to be anything that would affect you there. But in general, if everything's fine, you're not going to have any issues outside the U.S. for the consular processing. It's just a part of the process that you have to do.
Okay. So those are all the options for U.S. if you're married to a U.S. citizen.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So what if I'm not married to a U.S. citizen, but I do have a child who was born in the United States?
Well, as we've seen, a lot of people, a majority of people here with TPS have been here over 20 years. So in a lot of cases, you have a child who's over the age of 21. A child has to be 21 if they're going to petition for you. So that's important to remember. But if you do have a child that's 21 and you came in with a visa or with advanced parole, then you can do your whole process here, the petition, the permanent residence, the application, adjustment of status, and the rest of the forms, all in the U.S. You can become a permanent resident here in the U.S. If you came in without a visa, but again, got TPS before 18, you could do the petition and consular process. Now, if you came into the U.S. without a visa and got TPS over 18, you do the petition, the waiver, and the consular process. So it's similar to as with a spouse. But the issue with kids, if it's your son or daughter who's over 21 filing for you, then they can't file a waiver for you. So if you came in without a visa, then you need someone else to file a waiver. The only person who can do it is a spouse or a parent who's a permanent resident or a citizen. So I was going to mention this, but we're going to do a chat on petitions and waivers soon to discuss who can file a petition, who can file a waiver. It's complicated. It's not the same list of people. And so you have a child, they can petition for you, but they can't file a waiver. So you have to find another qualifying relative who is your spouse or parent to do the waiver for you. Yeah, I lost my train of thought there. Did we cover all that one?
I think so.
Okay, great.
Okay, so besides being married to a U.S. citizen or having a child born here, are there any other options available?
Yeah, it's possible. So it's important to look into other options. If you, for example, there are certain types of humanitarian options. If you were a victim of a serious crime, some examples are felonious assault, human trafficking, domestic violence. If you were a victim of one of these types of crimes, there's a list, and you suffered from it and helped law enforcement, you could possibly qualify for a U visa or T visas in cases of human trafficking. They're a long process, but they are paths to permanent residence. That's something I would look into. Another option, you do have certain options in removal proceedings. If you have a case in immigration court, for example, you can, and you've been here at least 10 years, you can request cancellation of removal, which is a path to permanent residence, if you can show hardship on a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, as well as there are other options like asylum, if you fear returning to your home country for persecution. There's also something called Convention Against Torture, which doesn't give you a permanent residency, but lets you stay here in the U.S. So if you're in removal proceedings, you do have options to defend yourself to stay here in the U.S.
Okay. So do you have any other recommendations?
Yeah, so a great recommendation I have right now is if you're here on TPS and there's someone who could file for you in the future, whether it be a spouse or a child who is going to be 21 in the next few years, I'd recommend looking into advanced parole right now. Advanced parole is, like I said, a travel permit. It's basically permission to leave the U.S. for an important reason and come back in. Some examples are sick family members. That might be a reason to travel on advanced parole. Someone in your family's passed away, you'd like to go visit to pay your respects. That's another option. But they take 4 months or so, and so it's very important to request this advanced parole as soon as possible. That would allow you to go visit your family or relatives, but also when you come back, it's coming back with inspection, with admission, and so it's basically like you came in with a visa, and then it make it a much easier process for you here in the U.S. So advanced parole is something I'd recommend doing right now if that's something you're interested in.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So just moving on from there, we're going to have an appointment day in Montevallo next week. So if any of you live close to Montevallo and want to make an appointment, we'll be there on May 24th. It's a Thursday, and we still have some spaces available. So let us know, give us a call, and set up your appointment.
Yeah, we'll be at St. Thomas Catholic Church next Thursday. So yeah, definitely give us a call if you're interested in having an appointment with me in Montevallo. Great. Well, like I said, we'll answer the questions as soon as I'm able to, and feel free to submit them on Facebook right here, or you can email me. Also, we have a lot of information on our website. It's loveimmigration.com. So check it out. A lot of information on TPS, as well as lots of other types of immigration options as well. So I want to thank you so much for joining us. Here at the Love Law Firm, we only handle immigration cases. So give us a call at 205-323-8727. Joy, thank you so much for joining us again.
Yes, great to be here.
And we'll be back again sometime soon. Thank you.
Thanks.